Hi, I'm Laura Flanagan. I've been a Unitarian Universalist since birth, singing in the choir at the UU Fellowship here in Winston-Salem since 2013, and a member since 2014. Before I begin my statement, I would like to lift up that everything I'm about to say has been informed by the teachings of Black Lives of UU and Black Lives Matter Greensboro. When I first read Christina Rivera's essay on not being a good fit for the UUA and the follow-up call to action by Black Lives of UU, I felt a sense of relief mixed with anxiety at the use of the word white supremacy to describe the UU Church. You see, as I've embarked on my own path into anti-racism work in support of the movement for Black lives in the past few years, a journey that is deeply rooted in my UU faith, I have been increasingly uncomfortable with the UUA and the UU Fellowship here in Winston-Salem. We are good at saying that we believe in justice. We are good at wearing our yellow shirts. We have agreed as a congregation to support the statement Black Lives Matter, and we hung a banner. But is that enough? What does that actually do? How do our actions line up with our stated beliefs? And how do our institutions and the way that they function line up with our faith? We are being asked now to look within our own institutions and within our own hearts to find the white supremacy there. I believe that this is a much needed reckoning. My fear is that we as individuals, as a congregation, and as a worldwide church will recoil from the difficult and painful task of this self-reflection. My fear is that we will not take bold action in support of Black Lives of UU, and my fear is that we will ignore this call, and the religion that I have been part of since birth will no longer feel like home to me. I don't say this because I know the way or have the answers. Learning to identify hidden white supremacy is difficult and risky. As I've begun to think of white supremacy in a structural way and started to examine who holds the power and who feels most comfortable in the different spaces that I interact with, I have felt defensive, guilty, and overwhelmed. I feel endlessly vulnerable and insufficient when I try to wrap my head around what I should be doing as a white anti-racist person supporting the movement for Black lives. And it will be hard work to confront it and come to terms with it as a congregation as well. There is no easy fix, and there is no box we can check off today and be done with it. We will need to be emotionally vulnerable, honest, and willing to challenge our egos and preconceived notions. And as white UUs, we will need to be willing to put ourselves at risk in those ways on a continuing basis. In some ways, it would be easier to ignore this challenge. Many people look at the UU Fellowship as a safe space where they can seek refuge and spiritual fulfillment and healing. It would be more comfortable and more convenient for the UUs who have always felt that sense of safety within these walls to focus on those feelings and center their own needs. But if we ignore this call, what would it mean for us as a religion and a fellowship to ignore the ask to find the white supremacy within our hearts and institutions? We are being told by a significant number of UUs of color that they do not feel valued, safe, or spiritually fulfilled. When a significant number of UUs of color speak truth to their lived experience of racism and white supremacy within the UU Church, what would it mean if white UUs dismissed those experiences? What would it mean if white UUs used their existing power and voting majority to prioritize the feeling of white UUs and ignore the call to action that Black Lives of UU has made? It would mean that we are actively upholding the culture of white supremacy that already exists within Unitarian Universalism. The greatest risk isn't accepting and admitting that it's there. The greatest risk is failing to act and stand boldly on the side of Black Lives of UU. On the other hand, if we have the courage to follow the lead of Black Lives of UU and heed their call to action, our potential seems limitless and fantastic. By challenging ourselves to learn about structural white supremacy and white supremacy culture and pair that learning with action of making structural changes, I believe we have the potential for limitless spiritual growth and fulfillment. By empowering and holding ourselves accountable to non-white UU leadership, we have the opportunity to remake Unitarian Universalism into a religion that is welcoming in practice, truly rich in diversity, and ready to take bold action in support of justice. My hope now is that the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Winston-Salem and the UUA can be humble and open. I hope that we resist the urge to deflect and other the reasons for this call to action. This is a time to learn and look deeply and honestly within ourselves, our congregation, and our religion. My hope is that we trust and follow the leadership of Black Lives of UU. I hope that we will resist the urge to find a quick fix or decide that we, as white UUs, know a better way to solve this problem. This is a time to step into the vulnerability and the fear that this work requires. It is okay to be afraid, and it is okay to feel vulnerable as we move forward together as UUs. This will be a courageous move, not a comfortable one. I'm ready to take a step into this call to action, and I hope that everyone at UU FWS will join me.
I'm Brooks Jones. My family and I have been members of the fellowship for at least 20 years, so we're invested. I feel like there's a lot we have to learn about the faith itself, but it's something that we believe strongly is a part of our value system, and it's been a good fit for our family. I am a teacher. I spent 20 years in marketing and graphic design, and several years ago decided that I wanted to do something more meaningful with my career. So I stopped doing that. I became a public school teacher, and this year I started teaching at a high poverty school in East Winston, where 100% of the students qualify for free and reduced price lunch, and almost all of them are students of color. So I guess one of the things that concerns me about the controversy within the Unitarian Universalist Association and the society at large is that I feel strongly that we as white people, this is our turn to take a back seat. And I realize that there's a seismic shift that has to occur in order for needed changes to happen in our society. And it's going to be tough for a lot of us. It's going to mean that we're going to have to step back, and we're going to have to trust that others who have been marginalized and pushed aside and forgotten about and talked over need to have their turn, and they need to lead this, and their voices need to be heard, their stories need to be told, and they're going to be the ones that need to lead this effort. And as white people, we need to step back and support them any way that we can if we truly are going to have a society where everyone is treated equally, fairly, cherished for who they are, not forced into a box that is easier for white people to understand and accept. We have to, and that's scary for a lot of us. It's going to be really difficult. It is difficult, but it's a needed change that has to take place. And in reading some of the writings and speeches from those who are struggling with this, I really feel the fear of the white community, and I feel that for some of us, we're at the top of that roller coaster, and we don't know what direction it's going to go. We don't know the speed. We don't know who's driving it. But we are going to have to sit back and just hold on and trust. We're going to have to trust others in ways that people of color and marginalized communities have had to do for centuries. And it's going to be difficult, but this is the hardest work we will ever do in our lifetimes, and it's worth doing. And we must trust and try to get past the fear.